But without further ado, I'm going to introduce the first speaker of today, and I love the title of this talk. It's "Is Trade Show Technology Like Putting Lipstick on a Pig?" So over to you, Francis.
Thank you. Welcome. Well, it's great to be back with our people, our folks, the people that speak our business and our industry, and love being here. I very much appreciate you guys being in the audience and having the opportunity to share some thinking that's been going on with me for the last 25 years I've been in this industry. Let me just make sure this works. So in 2017, I published the first book in our industry on the digital future of our business. It's available as a free download at www.moderndigitaltradeshow.com. And it's about 275 pages of taking a look at the future of our business from 2017 to give you an opportunity to see how far we've come from then to now. Certainly the technology has moved forward a lot faster because of COVID, but the technology is moving forward and it is our future. So one of the interesting aspects of trade shows is that trade shows are the only place where the customer pays to hear a sales presentation. They spend money to come to a show, to visit the booths, to have somebody sell them something. What an interesting industry, right? For customers to come and pay to hear sales presentations. But today we're actually in a recession. The Biden administration has refused to formally declare a recession, but under previous definitions of recessions, which is 2 quarters in a row falling below a certain level, we are in recession, which means our customer today is the chief financial officer. Dollars are tight. The Fed is raising interest rates. The Fed is reducing the supply of money. So the corporate CFO is concerned with retaining earnings, retaining working capital without having to borrow money, because borrowing is very expensive these days. So if you're thinking about buying a house, for example, interest rates a few years ago were down in the 2s. Today, they're up in the 6s. So buying and selling homes today has had a tremendous impact based on the cost of money and the use of money. So one of the aspects of our industry is that we were built on something called scarcity. If you recall in the Bible, in the history, caravans used to go across the desert and bring products and services to outposts that needed them. And because there was a scarcity of those products, it made it very easy to bring trade across all of those channels. Even in our industry, certainly post-World War II, there was scarcity. Scarcity also increases or includes what I call suction. In other words, if you don't have it and somebody brings it to you, it's like sucking it into your space. So part of our industry was built on scarcity. The question that we face today is, what is our industry like in abundance? You know, with a device like this, I can get anything I want, anytime I want, from anywhere in the world, and I don't have to worry about scarcity for what I want necessarily, unless it's something very far out there. So scarcity is gone. It used to be that when we brought all of the stuff that we brought together in one facility, it was very easy for people to find it. Now, I can get it without having necessarily to go to a facility. I might want to, it's part of our business, but we were initially built on scarcity. So today, as I just said, we're in a 24/7 world, handset connected, anything I want, anytime I want, however I want it. However I want it. It's now switched so that the customer is in charge of the transaction. How many of you are finding that going out there? Like people are saying, you know, well, ship it to me, send it to me. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. And certainly COVID accelerated that. And the distributed workforce today, work from home, trying to get people back into the office is part of that. So that has created for me what I call the imperative question. And the imperative question is, why should I? Why should I? And it's the why should I, which is, what do you have to offer that I have to be there? It's an imperative. I have to be there. And what's the penalty for staying home? What's the penalty for staying home? So if you look at your events and your shows, can you answer the question for your audience? Here's the penalty for staying home. It's a really hard question. It means that you've got to be able to build something that people want to have. So if we look at the attendee imperative question, which is if I can shop the entire market online, negotiate with vendors online face-to-face, and have them finance and inventory, another key aspect, finance and inventory, why do I have to be at your show? And the same question for exhibitors. If I can have an online face-to-face customer meeting, deliver customized 3D and VR presentations, find out what they want, gather data, and use AI going forward to find out what people want and get all of the information that I used to collect at a trade show, why do I need to exhibit there? What's the penalty for staying home? And I think this aspect here, which is the AI aspect, data analytics and AI, is going to be a real challenge for us because people can go out, search the market, find all of the people who are using their products and services, connect it to a software package that creates marketing materials automatically. What are we going to produce that people have to be there? It's a really hard question going forward. So if people want something badly enough, they'll figure out a way to get it. Badly enough to figure out the way they get it. So here's a show, takes place in the desert. It's 100 degrees plus Fahrenheit, no toilets, no air conditioning, no restaurants, no shade, no water. What's the event? Anybody? Burning Man, exactly. So if they're willing to go through all of that, and Burning Man is capped at 80,000 people. 80,000 people in 100-degree heat. And they have to bring everything in and they have to take everything out. Excuse me. Do people want your show at this level? Here's another one. Excuse me. People start lining up 5 hours before the doors open. Outside in the cold and snow if you're on the East Coast. Excuse me. Stampede when the doors open. And in the past, some people have been actually killed in the stampede. What's the event? Absolutely. It's that big shopping day where that 65-inch television set you wanted is marked down to 50%. You hear the stories. You may even be there. Of course, in the digital world, we just created Digital Monday. But if you really want to get it before the inventory goes out, you get in on Black Friday. So what about these events? What about these events that offer us something to think about? It's content and value. The content that's in the store, the content that's in the brochures, the information about the fact that the product exists, and the information that you can buy it at 50% off, or that you can camp out in the desert. The cost of Burning Man is amazing. It runs from a little over $400 to camp in a pup tent to $4,000 for really specialized activities and VIP parking for your RV and a whole series of other things. So can you imagine 70,000 people paying you an average of, let's say, $2,000? It's an incredible financial situation, isn't it? How many of you'd like to have that? So if we offer enough value, it's very easy to move somebody from no to yes. If we understand what they value and we give it to them the way they want it and how they want it, it's not a hard sell. But if we don't understand what they value, no matter how much money you spend, you're not going to be able to sell it to them. No matter how much technology you have, how much whiz-bang stuff you offer, how much flash you do in the screens in the pre-marketing, if people look at it and say, it's not for me, it doesn't fit, it doesn't have any value, and the CFO says, you can't prove to me that spending the money to go there or exhibit there will have an ROI for our company, and those dollars, those scarce dollars, have some return on that investment, nobody's going to come. So again, it's value, value, value. So what business are we in? We have a new business model. We're in the business of producing high-value content so compelling that people will pay us to produce it. Content, in my definition, includes everything. Content includes the exhibitors. Content includes the networking. Content includes sessions like this. It's the whole package. So if this were a box of cereal, for example, The front would say, you know, cornflakes, but on the side it says the list of ingredients. What's the content? So list of ingredients in a cereal box would be flakes and raisins and caramel and sugar and so on and so forth. So if we looked at your show as a product, what are the contents inside of your product? And are those contents valuable enough to make people pay you a reasonable price? I want you also to think about your shows and what you do as products. We're selling a product called Comdex. We're selling a product called National Association of Broadcasters. We're selling a product called Regional XYZ Expo. And in that product are these contents that people value, and they highly value those contents. 24/7, all media, all formats. I want it when I want it. 3 o'clock in the morning, I get off shift, I want to be able to have it. The other part of it is that particular show or your event has to be seen as the content expert, not a content expert, but the content expert. The 24/7 monetization of content rather, is that you are the source. It builds trust. It builds reliability. It builds a continuing of people looking at you and for you in order to buy a branded product. My background before entering this business was in branded consumer products, coffee, mustard, popcorn. I brought the branded consumer product thinking to our B2B business and apply it to trade shows. We can market it just the way you would market a box of cornflakes, if we think about it that way. Historically, we've looked at ourselves as being in the experience business. Well, if I ask a marketing director, what is the experience? What is the definition of the experience? It all falls back to content. The content and the networking, which is part of the content, creates the experience. Everybody understand that? The content creates the experience. You can't just say, I want to market this experience, unless you then say, okay, specifically, how are you going to market that experience? The other part of our business that we don't really understand is the media side of the business. Our media historically has been print advertising, direct mail, and phone calls. We've not had to produce 24/7 media. We've not had to learn how to think about repackaging content for distribution. So if we have an event that runs simultaneously, let's say we run a virtual event simultaneously, how do we think about what that content is and the relationship between the people who are in the virtual audience and the people who are in the existing audience? So it's a combination of in time. Running a virtual event is in time, we're in the same time frame, versus through time, which is where you take the content, chop it up, and then send it back out again or parcel it back out again over a period of time. My view of our industry of the future is we've got to become much better media mavens in terms of understanding what our media mix is, for example. Question, how much money do I put into traditional print, for example, or traditional sales activities versus creating courses? So if we own the content, we could create a course. Should we? Well, I don't know. What does our audience want? If we are creating the content, do we chop it up into feeds that go out once a week? And we wrap around that a whole message about who we are and how we love our audience and so on. It's a part of the thinking that we're going to have to master as we go to the future. If we look at our buying or selling event technology, first thing we need to start off is who's the vendors, who are the vendors, or who is the vendor that we're looking at? What have they done? Do they know our industry? And based on some of the conversation here, are they financially stable? Or are they going to be bought or sold, or some larger competitor who has been bought by a large consolidator is going to come over their market and basically knock them out of the game? One of the interesting aspects, will they be here? The other part of it is, do they know your business? Will they scale the technology appropriately for your event? It's nice to have an arsenal of things and offer it to the client and say, we can do all of these things, but the client has to then with you say, I only need 3 of the 10 that you're doing. Yes, I know you can do 10, but we can't handle it. Our staff doesn't know how to digest it. We don't know how to manage it. We'll be too reliant upon you, and the costs just keep going on. Gee, it's really neat, it's whiz bang and so on, but we don't know how to actually use it. We don't know what to do with it after it's done. So certainly fundamentals like registration, badging, the whole aspect of running the business is technology that we need. And we've had some of that already existing. But do I need flash graphics? Do I need whatever else that the technology could do? But it overdrives the business. And that's what the problem. It could overdrive your business. And then I want to look over here on this part. Actually, I can't see it. Is the implementation of the technology bulletproof? What's the last thing you want to hear in an event? The server is down, right? How many of you want to hear that? How many of you want to hear, well, we have a problem called network interoperability. We wanted to port this out in real time, but we can't get network A to talk to network D, and the guy or girl that knows how to do that is out over here, and it's not getting to Europe, and. How many of you want to hear that? Nobody wants to hear that, right? So it brings us back in the technology to this part here, which is capturing the content. Do you have a content capture plan? Does the technology know how to capture what you need to capture? Because capturing the technology in real time like they're doing here today means that you have an inventory of content to then figure out what to do from a post-event media perspective. An inventory of content. It also is a testimony to the intellectual quality of your event or your organizing company. If you're going to be seen as the expert in a content area, having an inventory of content, plus whatever you might want to get from, let's say, your board of directors or expert speakers in your industry, or articles that are published that you might also then say, okay, we're going to take this article from Business Week, for example, and we're going to use it as part of a larger presentation, which includes 10 minutes of content from our event that we captured. And then we're also going to include it as part of a small mini course for our beginners. So part of the problem also is, what content do you capture? Are you capturing content for beginners, the intermediate folks, and the advanced folks? What is the executive content that you're going to capture that they're going to want to spend some time away from board meetings to look at? It's part of what's happening also in our distributed work environments. One of the things that you want to think about is, how is the beginner or the person working from home getting enough dimension of content to help them as a distributed employee in a larger company? Interesting aspect. So one of the weakest parts of our industry is copywriting. Copywriting. So I got this example from a piece that I received, and all of you can understand this. How can attending this show benefit my company? This show provides a unique opportunity to learn from industry leaders and experts, discover new trends and technologies, and connect with peers and potential partners. By attending the event, you can gain valuable insights that can help drive your business forward. How many other shows can you paste this into? 10, 20, 50? Our whole industry says this. Historically, it was all together at one place at one time. Now we're saying, come and have the experience, and we're using this kind of copy. Coming from my background in consumer packaged goods marketing, where we had to write really interesting kinds of copy, and working with clients as I do and helping articulate what it is we're producing, we need to then be able to move forward. Because if we are also then going to distribute virtually, we need to write copy around it. How many of you folks have seen a piece of copy that says, if your team is a distributed team, bring your team to our show and have everybody come together and increase the ability of our team to network with each other and also get this education? I see a lot of copy, and I have never seen one of those copy points. And yet it's something that shows can offer. Bring your distributed team to our event. We will host you in a room, and we will also then allow you to bring your team together increase their knowledge and expertise by the knowledge and expertise that we're sharing at our show. It's this kind of thinking that we need to look at going forward. Again, creativity. We use in the description personas. I hate personas. They're so flat, they're so mechanistic. You got a young person who says, well, we're just going to take these 4 personas, we're going to plug it into the system will then generate the copy, and we'll do like that. No. Get out and do the research. Talk to real people. Encourage your staff to go to shopping malls, for example, and just have walking around conversations. One of the techniques I use in shows is I call it walking around conversations. I just walk around and talk to people. I can get about 90% of what the issues are just in walking around and talking to real people and asking provocative questions. How's your day going? Oh, okay. What's happening with your company? How are you doing in the new environment where we're restricted on money and finances? I learned a lot here already about money and finances just walking around and talking. Get your young people out who do a lot of this work and a lot of the keyboard work out and talk to real people. Get your companies out and do the research, focus group research, do the statistical work, gather all of the data that we're gathering here and think about how you're going to analyze that data versus who that person is. What is their responsibility? So if we have a show that's like a broadly based show, there are different job titles in the audience. If we have a narrow scope show, fine. What is the depth aspect of that? The real testimony is this question. Do they, your audience, know that you know who they are and you've produced this show specifically to meet their needs? Do they know that you know who they are and you have specifically produced this show to meet their needs? How many of you are familiar with the Bud Light drama going on right now? Okay. The Bud Light brand seemingly was in a downtrend, and they hired a new female marketing manager. She looked like from the video she'd been in the business for a while. Her view was we need to expand the brand because the brand is a, quote, frat boy brand. Well, Bud Light also happens to be spending tremendous amounts of money on the side of NASCAR's racing and all of that. So she hired a transgender woman in the hopes that that woman could influence her 1.6 million followers. So at the end of year 1 of that relationship, they produced a can of Bud Light with her picture on it as a way of sort of acknowledging that. That can went viral to the internet about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks at the outside. Anybody want to guess? Anheuser-Busch, that owns Bud Light, is down $6 billion in corporate value. The Bud Light brand lost a 17% market share. Did they know their customer? Does the customer know that you know who I know? The customer said, you have no idea who I am, because if you knew who I was, you would not have done that. And that is 180 degrees away from who we are. Again, it's part of the aspects of taking place in our society today. And it's also part of listening to who your core customer is and what the next ring of customer could be without violating the engagement that you have with the core customer. Very important, very, very important. And as we can see with Anheuser-Busch, a $6 million loss in valuation of the company. So when we look at managing a show in a recession, first thing we want to do, and I've been through 4 recessions with various customers in our industry. First thing you want to do is narrow the focus of the show. Don't spread it out over everything. Narrow the focus, increase the value, and demonstrate how your show solves problems. It's the demonstrate how your show solves problems that will cause the CFO to put the money forward, because you're saying in your pre-show marketing, if you have this problem, we address it. If you have this problem, we address it. If you have this problem, we address it. Rather than all together at one place at one time. That doesn't do it. But if you say out loud in your materials, if you're in the business of plumbing, for example, yes, we work with municipal plumbing. We work with household plumbing. We work with contract plumbing. If you need whatever you need, we've got it at our event. It makes it easy on a pre-show, and it makes it easy on a post-show to be able to say, I learned how to solve these problems. I connected with these vendors who solved this problem. The solution to this problem will then turn an ROI on the investment, either to send me to the show or to participate in the show as an exhibitor. Very, very, very important. Think about the problems that you solve. Think about it from the other side of the transaction, which is I have to go to the CFO and put in a request for travel. So if we don't do this, if we don't think about the things that I've suggested for you today, technology will not fix it. Technology will very much be like putting lipstick on a pig. Technology by itself just sits there. It's what you put into the technology and how valuable what you put into the technology that makes the difference between success and failure. And as it demonstrated with Burning Man and demonstrated with Black Friday, if people want it badly enough, you can just put it out there. For example, there was a church service at a small Christian college that ran in the morning. About 6 or 8 weeks ago, there was just some sort of spontaneous movement in the group. The church service lasted 3 weeks spontaneously, 24/7. The college itself only has 2,000 students. 50,000 people came to the campus to participate in that spiritual awakening. 50,000 people. How did they get there? Word of mouth. People went on the internet. Do you think they went out and hired a technology vendor and said, hey, come on in, we're going to talk to God today? No. It was so intrinsic to the core of who these people were and how other people reacted and reflected and vibrated with that, that they came in from all over the world. All over the world. No technology. So we need to think about things that way. We also need to think about stamping out boring shows. One of the other aspects that happens in a recession is we tend to get down emotionally. Shows tend to have low energy. I'm not saying that we want to go around like a goody two-shoe going, yay, it's a recession. But lighter colors in the color palette, upbeat terms in the pre-show material, a sense of candor. Tell them the candor. Yes, we know it's tough out there, but we recognize it's tough out there. We recognize you're facing difficult problems. We have solutions for you. Please come and network with other peers. It's very important to make 23, for example, a solid base, because when it picks up, and it will, when it picks up, the rate of gain for a solid show in 23 goes a lot faster in 24 and 25. So I want to thank you very much for inviting me to be with you today. Wish you all a great show. I'm looking forward to catching up with you in person on the show floor. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to be here after this presentation to talk to you and answer whatever questions I can. Thank you.